incident. And so I spent pretty much a lifetime knowing that something happened, but I wasn't sure. Basically because of the fact that I was a kid playing up in a tree in front of our house, and, every summer, I was up there all summer long, hanging out, spying on the kids, being a child myself. And one day, I'm up there, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up into consciousness about 6 feet away from the tree, laying there. And I was kind of waking up, going, what the hell happened, And I knew I was up in the tree. But I got up, brushed myself off, walked over to the tree, and I said to myself, I'm a kid, but I'm not stupid. And I kept thinking, if I would have fell, I would have fell down.
Right.
And this particular tree was actually planted on a man-made mound. And what surrounded that mound of dirt was this, like a dark gray coral rock. It had tiny little holes all over it. And it was kind of sharp to the touch. If I would have fell on those rocks. But no, I was about 6 feet away from the tree, waking up. And I knew something happened, but I just didn't know what. Shortly after that, I had forgotten about the incident, and then I had remembered it. Something triggered my memory of that something happened. So it wasn't until I tried to go under hypnosis in 1990, and there was a big block, and she really couldn't get through, but we did find out information, because she kind of asked, she said, hey, look, she brought me out, and she said, look, there's a block there. It's either you or something else that's preventing you from remembering. And she goes, let me ask you a question. Are you ready to learn the truth? Well, I was real scared to go and have this done. I had never been hypnotized before. I didn't know what to expect. I was afraid to kind of find out. But I answered her, not really. I don't think I was really ready. And she said, well, I want to try one more thing. So she put me back under. And she said, when was the first time you ever seen a UFO? She asked me this while I was under. And I remembered, because I've seen many UFOs, up close, close encounters, whatever. What was interesting is I heard myself say that there was a cylindrical object sitting on the desert floor, and I could see myself, I'm standing on a ledge looking down on this, and I started talking about the fact that the canoe people came from the stars and would visit our tribe. And I was a Native American boy in that lifetime, and I can see this object. It was very long, but, of course, we associated the shape with a canoe. That's why we called them that. So I was very surprised to hear myself say that. But I guess the more interesting thing about reliving that moment was she asked me, who do you know in that lifetime that you know in this lifetime? Because we realized this was a couple of 100 years ago or so, 300 years ago, whatever. And I said, my nephew, Anthony, who's my nephew in this life, was my baby brother in that life. That stirred up such a strong emotion, I started crying. And it brought me out of hypnosis. And I was kind of embarrassed too, because I'm crying. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't understand this. And she's like, no. She said, you really love your nephew. And I said, yes, I do. I'm very close to him, And I said, is this a real thing? She said, well, your emotions are telling us exactly that you're remembering this other person who is one and the same of who is your nephew in this lifetime. And I knew it to be so true, just the emotional reaction. So this started very early on for me, and I just was always obsessed with UFOs since then. And I really truly believe that's why I became a UFO investigator. And my book, when I wanted to write about being an investigator, I also wanted to tell my story. So that's why I titled it UFO Investigator, A Personal Look into Circumstance, Investigations, and Discovery. Because I did go and get hypnotized later on and found out what had happened. So that's why I wrote the book. It was twofold, to tell my story and to talk about UFO investigations. I profiled 30 of my cases that I did, close encounter cases that I did of other people. And I'm a very visual person. I always loved, I'm kind of an artist, but I really don't do anything with it. So I wanted it to not just be a book of words. I wanted images, and I asked these witnesses to draw these pictures of what they had seen, because I'm very fascinated with different shaped UFOs. And I wanted to bring it to life, their stories with these drawings. And I actually hired some digital artists to bring these images to life. I also, when I published the book, it's in color. I really wanted it to reach out to people and draw them into these stories of what other people had actually witnessed and experienced. So I'm very proud to have it be a book that anyone can pick up. Even my mother surprised me, and I had given my parents a copy, and I was surprised she picked it up and was reading it. And she said it was easy to read and it was interesting, because she knew all my life I was interested in this. So I was really happy to hear that people found it to be an easy read and it wasn't boring. I mean, there's a lot of books out there that can go into detail about things. And, you know, I read a lot of books. I'm a book lover myself. And I just wanted it to be something that anyone can pick up. It wasn't for people in the UFO community. It wasn't just that. It was for anyone.
And is this your first book?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
My first and my only book. I know that you're an author, Paul, but I'm so busy with MUFON reports and training my investigators and, life itself, that it takes a lot of time, your personal time, to write and really come up with something that not only you can be proud of, but other people will want to read. So I thought, I've had many people tell me, oh, you should write another one and give us more, but I have local MUFON meetings here, and we talk about UFO sightings, and I'll bring up sightings that I had worked as an investigator. People are always interested in that. And then I have people that come and they share their own sightings and experiences. And I really like having that type of meeting where it's not just 50 people sitting around listening to one person drone on. It's everybody sharing. It's everybody talking. I really liked the way that I had set up how we're going to have our meetings, where we're all sharing and talking, and we all got to know each other. So a lot of us have become personal friends, and we hang out, beyond the meetings, and that's something that I was very happy to see, because it's a community.
Deb, I know you're very obsessed with UFOs. I know another person that can outmatch you probably, and that's Xandean. He loves talking UFOs. And you know Xandean because you were on a UFO hunt with Xandean. So, Xandean, there's Deb right there.
Hi, Xandean.
Hi, Deb. How are you? It's a pleasure to talk to you. In this setting. Paul, what Paul doesn't know is that I actually go to some of her meetings she's the one leading it, and she's got everything already go. I don't have to worry about her doing anything. She's already got it. She's seen it all. So when I go there, I'm at home. You know, it's like I don't have to worry about it. And you know what, Dev? I wanted to tell you.
Xandean, you're cheating on me.
How many books you put out, because the Picasso was an Aries. If I'm correct, you Aries, right?
That I'm an Aries?
Yeah.
What was that?
Are you Aries?
No, you mean my sign?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm a Libra.
I was gonna take. Oh, that's even better. That's
Well,
artistic. Wow.
I'm a Libra, artistic, but I love people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Picasso he put it out when he was ready. So, you know, as artistic as you are, you know, when you're ready, it's always going to be good. So, you know, Paul, you know, what people don't know is Paul actually is pretty prolific. He's got all this knowledge, but he makes a little bit of coin off those books. So, you know, Paul likes that money too, see?
and Xandean's cheating on me by seeing Dev all the time. Oh my God.
I'm just kidding, Paul. You know I'm just kidding, man.
I know.
But Snoop Doggy Dogg is a Libra, by the way. Snoop is Libra. Marvin Harris. Man, there's so many artistic Libras. I mean, Cardi B, one of my favorites. She's running the industry right now. Her lyrics are so creative. They're par excellence. Nobody can beat it.
Dev, what?
But yeah, I do love UFOs, and like I said, Dev said, you make friends. Everybody has a story, and that's who I've met at her meetings. People with incredible stories. If you have footage, they have it too. They're not all excited. You know, if you just say, hey, I've got something, they're oh, okay. You know, so she really has something going on where, you know, they've seen a lot of stuff, so.
And Dev, Xandean just came back from Joshua Tree National Park, which is a UFO hotspot.
Yes, I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm headed back down. Actually, I'm headed back down. I'm going to stay in George Van Tassel's house when I go back down there. I'm going to stay in his house. Even though he stayed in the cave for a little while, he did have a house that he stayed in. It's a little tiny, cute house, and you can look right from the window and see the Integratron. At night, it flashes. They have these little red lights around the structure. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's just good to feel the vibe. You think, oh, some humanoids actually landed here. By the way, Dev, I wanted to ask you, do you like Preston Dennett's stories? He has a lot of on-board encounters and some interesting stories, I thought, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know Preston. I was also on his podcast too.
I lost it now. Go ahead.
Yeah, he has some great books. He's done a lot of books. He does his research. Great guy. Yeah. Love him.
Who are some of the guests that you've had at your UFO meetings? I know you had Anthony Sanchez, who did Dulce. He had a book out about Dulce. Who are some of the other people?
Well, because I run a physical meeting, you know, we don't have a whole huge selection of people. But when COVID hit and we couldn't meet anymore, I ended up doing a Zoom meeting every month, and I ended up getting a lot of different people that way, because obviously if they're out of state, it doesn't matter. And they did interviews for my meeting for the Zoom. Here, I